Well, this is called Pretty Nagios Chart. It doesn't say that on my sheet.
Yeah, I know. It's
Pretty Nagios Charts. Please put your hands together for AlexisLe-Quoc.
Thank you. Sorry, I had a little late night flash of inspiration and figured maybe that's a better title. So, but what I want to talk to you about is really a continuation of it's the same vein of the talk I gave yesterday, which is really about what you can do with your Nagios data. So data that you already have, data that you already collect, data you might not be using, you might or might not be using. So in this presentation, I basically walk through, in relatively practical terms, how to extract the data and what to do with it. I won't go into too much detail, so in terms of explaining code and stuff like that. So if you want, just hit me afterwards. This is my Twitter account, so just connect and let me know. Okay, so that's me. Again, so that hasn't changed since yesterday, but developer and operations background, been a Nagios user since 2008. A co-founder of a company called Datadog, hence the little dog. And we do basically real-time analytics. So let me start with a little survey. I would like to know, and this is not for me to gather results, but really to start the dialogue is, compared to last year, if I were to ask you in general how you feel your Nagios practice is doing, would you say it's better, it's about the same, or it's worse? Better? Okay, so for me it's maybe worse, but I think there's a distribution of answers there. The reason why I'm asking this question is, so why does it matter? If we're getting better year after year, or worse, or of course there's an element of pride. I'm doing a good job. It's better. But I think more importantly, if you're doing worse, then you don't get to sleep that much because you get waking up at night. And this is really, I think, the picture of happiness that I want to get to. And the idea is that in my Nagios data, in my stream, in my log, there are pointers that can help me answer the question, yes, I'm doing better, or no, I'm doing worse. This is by what margin and why. So I can be one of these guys. So the question is obviously, how do you find out? So yesterday I had a little, a few slides about why you can't use your memory to find out. Because if I ask you, and we had a little exercise, if I ask you what are the top 3 Nagios checks, you're going to answer, basically you're going out of all the Nagios, the service alerts, if you will, that you encountered, you're going to select, your memory is going to selectively filter to what's recent, and then second, what happened kind of out of the working hours. So something that wakes you up at night, you'll remember for a long time. Something that happens every single day or every single week on Monday at 11 a.m. where you're already in the office. This is not going to register as something that's important. Whereas if you look at maybe the impact, it might be really important for you to fix to address this service alert. So if you eliminate memory from as a tool to get to the answer, am I doing worse, better, or is it the same? Then what you have left is analytics, and this is really the topic of this little discussion. So analytics is great. Yesterday, kind of went through diving through some data set and try to extract trends and so on. One key thing that often gets forgotten or doesn't receive as much attention as really it deserves is the importance of display and presentation. And so that's why this presentation, originally I think called JavaScript Meets Nagios, is called now Pre-Nagios Charts because I use more than JavaScript for that. But this, in case you're curious, this is a great book on how to represent quantitative information by Tufte. And so there's a huge following about this guy. You don't have necessarily to agree with everything that he says, but he has spent a number of years trying to see what charts, what representations make sense. All right, so first I want to talk about the pipeline. So the pipeline really means how do you get the data out of Nagios into something that you can print on a sheet, or look at a screen and say, yes, I can see trends, I can extract action out of that. The first thing I wanted to sort of re-emphasize is that your Nagios logs are a treasure. There's a few reasons for that. If you go back to what a log is, really, this is for many, many years, this is what a log really is. Somebody every day opens a notebook and writes down what happened, the important things that happened throughout the day. So this is from 1943, a ship's log. That's what we mostly have. Now, if you compare, what we call in the industry a log, it's something that's totally different. And unlike a ship's log, it's something that's usually very comprehensive. That's accurate, so there's no trying to remember what happened today, around what time we had an alert. The machine will write that down for you. And it's written for you, so you don't have to go through exercise of trying to synthesize what happened and then writing it down for posterity or later analysis. The problem, of course, is that what we trade in being comprehensive, accurate, and sort of easy to write is that they're hard to comprehend. I mean, this is an extract from one of the logs. Per se, each individual line is not particularly hard to comprehend. The problem is, if you just look at pages and pages of that, you're like, okay, well, it's not very actionable. Oh, and if you have any questions, comments, reactions, interrupt me. I don't really want to do like necessarily only have questions at the end. This is meant to be really as interactive a discussion as possible. So, so here's the recipe that I put together to extract some actionable information from Nagios data. So you have your raw logs. Everybody has that. Write a simple Python parser that extracts the logs. Put these logs in the database. Apply some statistical analysis on them. So this is R, and then represent them. So then there are for representation, there are basically two avenues that I looked at and that I think are really easy to use and elegant. One is called ggplot2, which is an R package, and the other one is D3, which is a JavaScript library to represent in a very interactive way numerical data. For people who don't know what R is, it's a statistical package, the open source statistical package that's used by a lot of people, a lot of data scientists. It's open source, it's well documented, has a huge community, so it's a great package to perform statistical analysis. I'll say a few things about scale later on, but this is what I started. The data that I'm going to present you with, it went through that pipeline. So the parser extracts data from the logs. SQL database lets you query the data and kind of ask questions of the data. R lets you analyze the results and extract statistical properties of the results. And these two guys, just ggplot2 and d3.js, are just purely there for presentation. So this is the ingredients of the recipe, and they let you start from the raw logs and get you to nice graphs. So you run your log parser, insert data into Postgres, then connect R to Postgres, and so R can basically pull data from the database, and then you present it, and then you get your graphs. So, in slightly more detail, if you want to do it yourself at home, and it's not dangerous, so you should, you can use, so Nagios log is there. You can, and I can share at some point if you're interested, some code to do that, to extract. It's relatively easy. Extract that into a CSV. Use a Postgres utility to create a table out of CSV. It's super simple. Use a module so that R, the statistical package, can connect to the database, called R PostgreSQL. Our data frame is the representation of a SQL table, if you will, in R with few caveats. And then to get to a PDF or PNG or whatever, you use ggplot2, and we'll see what it looks like.
Does R support other databases?
Yeah. So it supports, I believe, Oracle, MySQL, probably SQL Server, like most of the databases. There's a generic interface, database interface to R called DBI, maybe something like that. And basically, you load